Well, I'm Jeffrey Van Sciver. A lot of people know me by Mercury as well, which is cool to, I guess, have a few identities within the chorus. It'll be my third season in the chorus now, but I joined in 2018. I'm a lower tenor second.
So what was that first rehearsal like?
It was beautiful. It was back at the location, the Academy of Art location, and I just remember thinking like, oh, this reminds me of a church, and so Tim was like, okay, pick your favorite note out of this chord, and everyone, sing your favorite note. And it was literally like that moment, instant, like I got chills and was like, okay, one simple little chord, just okay, let's get started. So it was super nice, and also it being the first day of rehearsal, which I hadn't really realized, and so I just went to go and watch, but you could see the amount of love, and so everyone was so excited to see each other, and lots of hugs and lots of love, and it's funny because it's like now being in the chorus, I know that feeling, and especially after being, time away, and you just get used to seeing your people. So I definitely felt that instantly.
How did you get connected to music in the first place?
Well, I've always been a musical person, I think it's interesting as far as being who I am. It's kind of, I feel like myself all the time, and it's funny to kind of take pieces of other people and kind of absorb and evolve within my life. And sometimes we forget even how we got to where we got, or the information that we received. Sometimes we just think it's so like a part of us. But honestly, it's like, I've always been a musical person. I've always been a physical person. I've always related in that way as far as dance goes, as far as music goes. I used to have records of multiplication. I would say that's one of my first musical moments that I can recall. I would put on my vinyls, and it would be timetables, and I would be in the mirror singing my multiplication.
That's amazing.
So pretty young, but I played the piano when I was a kid. I played the violin, and I was always choreographing my own dances. And I like the act of creating and learning, and especially when it comes to art and just being an artist in general. It's kind of like, I love just kind of feeding that in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful. One of the things I love about rhythm is the kids getting to hear what everybody in the chorus does, because we all have such different backgrounds and jobs and stuff. So I think it's one of the beautiful things to be able to hear about, your connection to art. That's so vibrant. Like, it's so clear whenever you talk about it, like how much joy art brings you in your life. It's
totally.
Yeah. So looking back on your years in chorus thus far, what's been some of the most rewarding?
Again, it's so funny because I would say each show, each rehearsal, each encounter with people from the chorus, if it's running on to someone on the street, just on the bus or something, the different Forte events, or just, I feel like there's so much opportunity, which has been amazing. It's been super nice to get to know myself while getting to know other people. And the fact that there's 300 plus people within the chorus, I think that evolution of growing is endless, because I'm continuously meeting people. And I would say for me, that's nice to pull from. I think energetically, it's nice to feel that kind of embrace between giving and receiving. And it's pretty constant, every time it's funny because we tech shows And you're gonna meet someone you did not know. Depending on the show, of where you're standing, you're gonna meet, a new set of people you don't necessarily see all the time. And so I would say it's kind of those interactions where I'm always a little bit on my toes and always a little bit embraced at the same time. It makes me a little nervous because even after my first actual initial rehearsal, I was running into people already. And it's crazy how small the world is in that way, and how like something can be there the whole time without you ever realizing it, and then you have one freaking rehearsal and now you're running into people that you probably have been running across the whole time, and
right, but you didn't recognize them.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of like once you join, you're never alone in San Francisco again, because you'll always
exactly. I definitely feel like I have a new home within the home that I already have created for myself and I've already built, but it's definitely a fresh set of eyes, which is nice.
If there's some young person out there watching this today who shares some part of their background with you, what would you tell them?
Well, for me, which is, I would say, a constant lesson that I'm kind of continuously going through, is kind of just to do what I already know that I want to do. I think oftentimes, which as far as growing goes, it's, you don't want to put yourself out there. You don't want to you don't want to feel uncomfortable. You don't want to be rejected. You don't know what's going to come from it. And literally, I've never have been rejected in that sort of way where it's that negatively affected me. Most of the time, you get across that fear and you're like, whoa, there's a whole world here. And it's funny because, that's where you feel comfortable and where you want to be. And so it's kind of like, what was I waiting for? Why didn't I audition before? Why people I never got to see a show. After living here for so long, I never even saw a show. And most definitely, if I at least saw the show, I would have been like, wow, I love that feeling. I want to be there. And so I would definitely tell my younger self to remember to keep doing the things that make you uncomfortable, keep putting yourself out there, because the world will give to you what you're craving, what you need. And it's kind of, you almost feel like you wasted time. And so for me, it's like, although, everything happens for a reason, and within the time, it's like, whoa, what was I waiting for? I wish I felt like this before,
Well said. Beautiful. It's good. I love this part of every interview, because it's like we're amassing our chorus advice to each other, like, oh yeah, we should all remember that. Yeah, and that, and that, and that, and that. It's just great. Is there anything else about your chorus experience that you'd like to talk about that we haven't yet?
I would say, I always, at least me as a person, I always want to keep things new. I always want to keep things fresh. I want to listen to how I'm feeling and kind of like my purpose for the bigger picture, and for how can I bring my talents and my power, how can we combine them? And so for me, it's just always kind of thinking, what can I offer and bring to the table, basically. I think that's such a cool thing about the chorus too, because we all have such different day jobs and very different personalities, very different backgrounds. And yet here we are at this one moment in time. And I love that excitement. We're all very completely different people, and yet something brought us together. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time. This is awesome.
Thank you.
I had a lot of fun, and I hope that lots of people get to see it and get some inspiration from it too.